Well, hey there, and welcome to Wedding Planning Simplified. It's Wednesday. It's super weird. I'm never here on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. But thank you for sticking with us as we've actually changed the time. If you've been around for a while, you know that we do a weekly live video about something that hopefully is pertinent and relevant to your wedding plans. And we have done it at 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoons for ever. I actually went in and counted our live videos that are in our archives, and we have somewhere in the vicinity of 160 of them. So we've been doing this for a really long time. And I actually, to be honest, just decided that I kind of want my Sundays back with family. So we're now doing Wednesday nights. And I'm excited to be here, although I'm recognizing that the later it gets in the evening, the drier my contacts get. So if you see me blinking, that's what's going on. But I am here tonight with Regan. Regan, how's it going?
Oh, good. It's very good.
Good. Thank you so much for joining us. This is, for a lot of you, probably the first time that you've seen Regan's face. She's one of our newer members at Unmistakably You, but is proving to be indispensable and incredible, and we love her. So, Regan, do you want to just kind of let us know who you are and what your deal is?
Yeah. So I'm new to the team for the year. And I kind of met Amy through my other job, and I work at a golf course. I work at Forest City National here in London. And I've been working there for about 5 years, and I've worked the weddings there. So I would see the Unmistakably You team quite often when they would be coordinating weddings, and I was always like, "Oh my God, I love them! Like they're so great. They are like everyone at Ford City National is always so excited when we see that they're coming." And then I met her through school. So I'm at Fanshawe for event planning, and I'll be done that this summer. And I kind of reached out to her and said, "Hey, I really admire you guys, and it's kind of something I'm looking into doing." And we went from there, and here I am, and it's been great.
Well, we are so excited to have you and to welcome you on board as a lead coordinator as well as our content manager. So we've got some structural changes happening with Unmistakably You, and Regan has jumped in and just filled in some gaps and is doing awesome, awesome work. So welcome and thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
We are here to talk about something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. And I was telling Regan offline, I'm going to try really hard not to Rick Mercer rant this because, first of all, I'm not in an alley with graffiti and like walking randomly through through the back alleys. But secondly, this is something that I feel pretty passionate about because at Unmistakably You, we do a lot of day of wedding coordination. And so we're here tonight to talk to you about why day of wedding coordination is baloney. And I could probably use a number of other synonyms for baloney, but we're going to try and keep it PG. I mean, I will probably drop some bombs at some point tonight, but why day of coordination is baloney, despite the fact that it is the lion's share of what we do at Unmistakably You. So we're just going to hopefully shed some light on a couple of things, maybe clear up some questions. As always, if you've been with us for a while, you'll know that we encourage you to post your questions live. We will answer them in real time if you are joining us live. If not, feel free to comment on the post after the fact if you're watching the replay, or shoot us a private message or an email. You can hit me at amy@unmistakably.you.com or regan@unmistakably.you.com. We're happy to answer any questions that you have because, in my opinion, the more information you have, the better armed you are, and the more informed you can be, the more relaxed you're going to be on your wedding day. And that ultimately is our goal. So we're here to talk about day of coordination, which here in our local industry in London is a pretty common, well-known term that is completely inaccurate the way that we do it anyway. So just to start you off with a very scientific fact, I would like you to know I've done a lot of research into this, and this is the exact number. 2,395,432 details go into the planning of your wedding. Did you know that? That's an exact number.
I did not know that.
There you go.
I know
You
now.
heard it here first, folks. It's an exact number. And there is absolutely no way, realistically, that anybody but you is ever going to have a handle on all of those millions of details. If you have the means to work with a full service wedding planner, they are going to come very close. They're going to be holding your hand throughout the whole process, and they're going to be right there with you. They're going to know 98% of those details, except those tiny little ones that are in the back of your head that you really never verbalize to anybody. But the reality is that if you are hiring some kind of a day of wedding coordinator, there's realistically no possible way you can communicate all of that. It doesn't matter if you are the clearest communicator on the planet, and if your day of coordinator has the most refined process on the planet, there's no way that you're ever going to get them inside your brain. So I guess what I'm saying here is just be realistic with your expectations. If you're hiring a day of coordinator, the goal is that you have someone there to execute your vision, to make sure that you are not having to work or solve problems or put out fires on your wedding day. But ultimately, they're not walking with you through the whole process. They're not inside your brain. You're going to do the best job you can of getting all of those details across to them. But just mitigate those expectations so that you're not disappointed on the day or the weeks leading up to the wedding that they are not a full service planner, because realistically, that's not what they do. Which leads me to kind of a point about semantics. So day of coordination, like I mentioned, is a pretty common term in the London, Ontario market. It varies widely depending on where you go. Different regions have different terms. I've heard similar packages called month of coordination or month of management. Some people use the terms execution instead of coordination or implementation. What it boils down to, though, is that ultimately you're hiring someone to jump in at the end of the plans, pull all the things together, cross all the T's, dot all the I's, and make sure that on the day of the wedding, like I mentioned before, you're actually able to celebrate with your guests and your friends and your family and not have to have your cell phone on you and be putting out fires or solving problems on the day. So the reality of the situation is that nobody, not even Superwoman, can possibly show up just for a day and know exactly what you want. And anybody who says that they can is lying. Now, Reagan, we do a lot of initial consultations with couples, and we do try to educate them as best we can about our process. And you have jumped into that consultation process for the first time with us this year. And what would you say your primary goal is when you're in an initial consultation with a couple?
There's two things. First, I would say the most important is getting to know what they are looking for specifically, because everyone has different priorities for their wedding. And then also communicating as much as we can about what we provide so that they don't feel like we've purposefully left anything out or anything like that. And then the other most important part I'd say is just getting their vibe, getting to know them. And because if you can match, I find it, you have to match their personality sometimes. And that's just how it works in this industry, especially. You're not going to be the same for everyone that you work with. You're always going to try and match their vibe, and then that'll help you execute their day better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you hit the nail right on the head in terms of explaining our process, because realistically, we do things a little bit differently than other people who provide similar services. So other day of coordinators or month of managers or whatever they're calling that package are going to have different inclusions, things that they offer, things that they don't offer. And so if you're looking at some kind of a day of package, the most important thing you can possibly do is be as educated as you can about the inclusions of that particular company. So read their website, ask questions, sit down for that face-to-face consult. And that's where you're going to figure out if you match with their vibe. And Reagan, that is so, so important in terms of working with anybody for the duration of your wedding day. It is the most emotionally charged day of your life, most likely to date. And if you are uncomfortable with one of the people that you're spending 12 hours with on your day, it's not going to go well. So matching that vibe and making sure that you mesh personality wise, so important, but also really clarifying what is included and what isn't, because different companies package things differently. I have heard of companies who provide a day of coordination service where you literally get one hour meeting prior to the wedding, and then they arrive half an hour prior to your ceremony to handle your setup and greet vendors and things like that. And that is not what we do. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but that stresses me out actually, because I can't imagine arriving half an hour before a ceremony. And what happens if the flowers have arrived and they're the wrong color? Or what if the musicians aren't there yet? Or what if the chapel's locked? There are so many things. So just know what you're getting, ask all of the questions, and interview multiple people. Just like if you were hiring someone to put a roof on your house or paint your bathroom, you're going to get multiple quotes from different companies, and you're going to find the one whose services best mesh with your personality, your needs, and your budget. And I think that's so important. That's why we do an initial face-to-face, or these days face-to-Zoom consult with all potential couples, because it's so important to us that people know exactly what we include and that our services are going to mesh with what they're looking for. When we do a day of coordination, our services actually start about a year in advance. That's when most people end up booking us. So we have a series of communication emails that come out for a year in advance. And then the real meat and potatoes of our package starts 6 weeks before the day of. So again, the term day of is a serious misnomer, but it isn't for every couple, or sorry, every company. Some companies do provide literal day of services. So know what you're getting. The next thing I wanted to just mention, again, I guess we could kind of go back to semantics. So the term day of coordinator is not a synonym for bitch. And I think that if you're interested in what I mean by that comment, you might want to tune in on November 30th when Reagan and some of the other team members and I are going to we're going to grab a glass of wine and we're going to do our wedding season wind down. So you're invited to join us for that glass of wine, and we'll tell you about some of the experiences that we've had this season, both good, mostly good, and lots of good, and then some challenging ones as well. But just in terms of your expectations, it's always really important to us that if you're hiring us for our day of service, that you have a clear idea of what we actually do. So the first thing is that we are professionals. There are a number of different certifications that are available for wedding planners, wedding coordinators in Ontario and Canada. And we specifically at Unmistakably You have most of them, or all of them in some capacity. Not every coordinator does. So make sure that you know you're getting someone who is, preferably certified, but really ultimately the most important thing is that they're experienced, because I'm a big proponent of the idea that you learn to do by doing. And that's why all of our team start in the role of assistant coordinator, and then they gradually work up to lead coordinator, because we want everyone to get that experience in the role, to be comfortable, to learn what happens in a real-time situation. Because ultimately, you can't really learn to plan a wedding in a classroom. You learn to plan a wedding at a wedding, right? So all of that is to say that we are professionals. And Reagan, you're in the midst of your professional designation at Fanshawe, and we have team members who are certified with the Wedding Planners Institute of Canada and multiple other certifications. But what that means is that we know how to make your day flow smoothly. We know what's going to work. We know what's not going to work. We know what's going to make guests comfortable, and we know what's going to make guests uncomfortable. We know what's going to be awkward in terms of scheduling the components of the day, and we know what's going to flow smoothly. We also are qualified to make decisions and execute visions and do things on a professional level that don't necessarily include changing the toilet paper in the bathrooms or scooping up the dog poop or serving water to the tables or clearing tables. So those are things that absolutely, if it needs to be done in a pinch, we will do it. But if you are looking for someone to do those things, if you're looking for someone to take care of the dogs, if you're looking for someone to monitor the bathrooms, if you're looking for someone to bus the tables, I would suggest that you're probably not looking for a coordinator. You might be looking for a student volunteer or a server from some kind of, a temp agency or something like that. So we are definitely there to advise, to share our expertise, and to make sure that your day flows as smoothly as it possibly can by managing all of the items that are wedding related that we've experienced in the past. So, checking my notes again because I'm getting Rick Mercery, so I'm just going to rein it in for a second here. I know that one thing that couples always have a big question about is, of course, what's the bottom line? And I'm not going to share specific numbers here because that's why we do an initial consult with our couples. But I also can't speak to other companies who provide day of coordination services. What I can tell you, though, is that sometimes when we do a consultation, if we happen to talk to a couple about pricing before we talk about all of the services that we provide on the day, there tends to be a little bit of sticker shock there because couples often think before they know what we do on the day, well, it's just one day. Why does it cost so much? And Reagan, I'm sure you've experienced that in couples that you've chatted with.
Oh, yeah.
But what I can tell you, I certainly can't speak to what any other coordination company out there charges for a day of or a month of management package. But what I can tell you is that most couples spend twice as much, at least, on their photographer as they spend on our day of package. Or they spend about 2 times more on their florals than they spend on our day of package. They spend about 25% more on their DJ for ceremony, cocktails, dinner, and dance than they do on our day of coordination package. And couples tend to not flinch at those things because those services are providing consumables or tangibles. So the photographer is going to capture the memories of your day and provide you with those digital images that then you can print up and blow up to, 9,000 feet long and hang over your sofa. And your florist is going to make your wedding come to life and be beautiful and incorporate your colors and your theme. And your DJ is going to provide you with nonstop entertainment all night and give you a great guest experience. And so those are things that, because they are experiential or tangible, people don't usually flinch at. But when it comes to a day of coordinator, sometimes there's a little bit of sticker shock. But if you break it down and if you think about it, and when we do our initial consultations, we lay this out for you. If you think about it, even though we're not providing anything necessarily really tangible or consumable, we are providing you with insurance that all of those other things that you've invested in are going to run smoothly, that your photographer can capture those lasting memories without having to worry about the fact that something is running late or telling the caterer that we need to delay dinner by 15 minutes. We're ensuring that the DJ can really be focused on playing awesome music and interacting with the audience instead of worrying about whether mom's in the room before we start speeches. So we're taking care of all of those things and really kind of providing you with, if you want to think about it like sanity insurance, that all of those other investments are going to pan out the way that you've envisioned, that's what we're dealing with on the day. So what you're investing in is the management of everything and the knowledge that we're the ones who are dealing with all the bullshit so that you don't have to. We're the ones who are intercepting the upset parent. We're the ones who are dealing with the lost vendor. We're the ones who are resetting the breakers when the coffee urn blows them. Nobody's calling you. Nobody's asking your mom. No one's having your maid of honor run out and do an errand. That's our job. So we are truly an investment in your sanity. And if that's not enough convincing, you could break it down to some more specific numbers. When we, and again, like I said, I can't speak to other companies, but Reagan, you've witnessed this firsthand. When we do a day of coordination, we generally account for about half an hour in initial communication and consultation setup, about an hour for that initial consult, about half an hour following that to send the contract and follow up, anywhere between 2 and maybe 10-ish hours in an advisory role prior to the wedding. We've got 3 hours times 2 coordinators, an assistant and a lead for the itinerary meeting. Then about 3 hours to type up the itinerary, anywhere from 2 to 5 to even sometimes more hours finalizing that itinerary. 2 hours confirming all your details with your vendors, an hour times 2 coordinators for your rehearsal, 12 to 14 hours times 2 coordinators on your wedding day, and about 2 hours of follow-up and, tying up loose ends. So if you add that all up, my numbers, my math, I'm certainly not a mathematician, but I've got anywhere between 45 to 58 hours in a day of coordination. And last I checked, a day had only 24 hours. So that is why day of coordination is baloney.
Yep.
Rant over. I'm done ranting. I'm going to drink some water now.
I had a little story that actually I was literally just experiencing before I hopped on here. I was talking to some of my friends in our lovely group chat, and they were talking. Some of them we're at that age where we're starting to get married, and they know that I coordinate weddings. And I jokingly said to them, "You better not ask me to coordinate any of your weddings. I am signed off for the day. I'm clocked out. I'm enjoying your wedding." And a lot of them even they experienced the same miscommunication about what wedding coordination is. And one of them said, "Oh, you can't just be a guest and coordinate my wedding on the same day." And I said, "Absolutely not." I said, you could, but you're either going to have me having a great time and your wedding not running smoothly and someone else ending up making your wedding day go well, or you're going to have me just working and being a guest. And that's what happens a lot of the time to maids of honor or the mother of the bride or the groom, and they end up doing what that would be is they don't get to be a guest at the wedding. They end up feeling like they're working, but they're not getting paid. We would be getting paid.
Yeah, and that's absolutely such an important point. It's often the mom who's happiest to see us because otherwise a lot of what we do falls to her. It's the problem solving and the fire putting out and the running around and the last minute setup. And those are the kinds of things that you don't want your wedding party to have to do. You don't want your parents to have to do. You want them celebrating with you on the day of the wedding. You want your friends to be surrounding you and enjoying the day with you instead of, and I like you say, Reagan, I've had so many people say, "Oh, I have a friend who can do that. I have a friend who will manage it for us." And it's so true. They are absolutely able to do that. They maybe don't have the same expertise and contacts and, problem solving that a professional does. But if you put a friend in charge of that, they are going to be working. They're not going to be enjoying your day and celebrating with you. So hiring a professional, I mean, clearly I'm biased, but I can't overstate the importance. And we've got one of our DJ friends is joined on with us here as well, and is just commenting. And thank you so much. I'll put your check in the mail. So a good planner is going to help you avoid those emergencies that will dampen your day and just to provide those solutions that otherwise nobody else has at the tip of their fingers. So we're there for so much more than just set up and tear down and changing the toilet paper in the porta potties. That is just the very, very tip of the iceberg. And if you're looking for someone to do those kinds of things, like I mentioned earlier, you might want to just see if you can find a high school friend or contact, because we are there for our professionalism and our contacts and our knowledge. And it is an investment in your sanity. So that being said, we would be more than happy to talk about how we can help your day run smoothly and how we can ensure that you don't have to be on the phone. You can sit back and hang on to your mimosa instead of your cell phone and enjoy the getting ready and the whole experience of the day with your family instead of having to run around and do that last minute setup. So if you're interested in learning more about what our day of coordination, and I keep threatening to change the name of it, and I really, really want to. It's just such a local kind of go-to term. So if you see us change our terms, it will change the term, but not the package, because what we do is so much more than day of. But we would love to talk to you about it. So feel free to reach out to us if you're interested in getting some more information about how we can help your wedding day flow smoothly. And as always, thank you for joining us here. We will be back next Wednesday night. We are continuing our No Nonsense November. I do love a good alliteration. I'm such a sucker for a good alliteration. So we're continuing our No Nonsense November next week by introducing you to Aunt Sally and Uncle Bob. Now, if you don't think you have an Aunt Sally and Uncle Bob, I promise you do. They're the ones who think that they're helping, and really they're just kind of mucking things up on your wedding day. So we're going to introduce you to them and give you a little bit more information about how to kind of keep Aunt Sally and Uncle Bob in their lane and out of the mechanics of your wedding day. So join us here again next Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. Until then, happy planning. If you have questions, don't hesitate to contact us. Regan, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
And everybody, look forward to seeing more of Regan in the very near future. She's wonderful, and we're hoping that she sticks around for quite some time.
I'll be here.
Amazing. All right, everybody, enjoy your week. We'll see you next Wednesday. Take care. Bye-bye.